In this marketing podcast, we interview digital innovators on their logistical approach to modern marketing tactics and creative strategies to accelerate their company to new levels.
Dawnyel, thank you so much for joining another episode of Rise, Grind, Repeat. I'm super pumped to kind of let the audience get to know you more. I mean, we've done a little bit of work together over the past and just getting to know you and your team. I admire how you kind of operate your business, love kind of what you're doing. You have big goals, and just the team around you just absolutely loves you. So I'm excited to dig in and learn more about, how you navigated your life to get to where you are now. So before we get too into it, love to just, who are you? What is your background? And
yeah,
a little more about you.
Sure. I love my team. I'm really, really fortunate. We are a quirky, interesting, fun group, but they are a culmination of all the people that I just love and adore. And they each have different personalities, which fit with me. I feel like I have lots of different personalities, and I have lots of different multitasking things that I don't do anymore that they do, because multitasking is a myth to me. And it kind of follows into how I got to where I am today. Is I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. Even from a little kid, I would take cleaning a house and then getting a job to clean a house, and then I would have my sister or somebody else clean it because I could get the job, kind of thing. And then I had a company in college that I did events. And so I would go into a space and design it for parties and weddings and different social occasions. And I did that all through college as a side hustle for me. Before there was side hustles, right?
You came up with the term by actually doing it.
I did. Yes. And so I've always had that spirit within me. So each person that's within my team now, that we have an insurance brokerage where we have our own agency. So we're also kind of like a franchisor or franchisee type of locations as well. So we do the franchisor side, and we help the agencies, either get established or help them leverage their agencies. And we do property and casualty, not a health person. Not that it's a bad thing, but we don't do that. But we really help them not feel like they're on an island by themselves, and they have a team behind them that can help them be super successful. So each member of our team, they have different talents. You've worked a lot with Tabitha, who's just amazing marketing, creative genius. And that's a little bit from my event days. So her and I vibe on that side of it. And then I have Albert on my team, and he's our technology officer. And so I love seeing how to systemize things. And I know it doesn't go with events. There's events over here, and that's one brain. And then you got the technology person over here. But I love working with him on seeing of how to be more efficient and how you can use technology to really shine in an industry that really is a little bit old school.
No, I love it. I mean, at the core, time management and delegation seem to be the thing that allowed you to kind of, get where you are now. And it's such a hard thing to do. I'm learning how to do it as trying to, build a team as well. And it's tough to let go. How have you been able to navigate that? I mean, it sounds like you were able to do that very early on. I mean, it's so hard, systems, process, delegation. Are there things that you learned on how to do that, or are you just wired that way? Or
I am not wired that way. I'm an absolute control freak. Recovering, I hope. Not sure yet. But what I would do is actually, as a owner, I think you have to put yourself in timeout sometimes. You have to take a break from your business and say, what am I doing that I shouldn't be doing? That should be either somebody's job that's already existing, or do I need to create a new job? And then fire yourself from those things, and truly fire yourself from those things, and stop going in. And I always think of that SNL skit where the computer guy, he's move, and he just moves the person over and takes over the computer because it's just I can do it better kind of thing.
Yep.
And the interesting thing is, if you have the right people, they'll do it so much better than you do. My team does it so much better than I do, right? I have an input in it, but I don't control it, and I don't control them. So putting myself in the timeout corner is super helpful.
And I mean, how do you have those conversations? Because that's, again, something that I'm working big time on. We literally had a conversation right before you got in to where I got slapped a little bit on, hey, that we were doing this, and just let us do it. We'll have it done by end of day. Been doing this for 4 years, and I always had I need to get it done. I need to do it all. I mean, are there any tips that you have on how to kind of put yourself in timeout with it? Like, because I always think, all right, if I'm taking a couple minutes off or out, whatever it is, am I even giving it my all? And it's kind of a weird mental, psychological thing to kind of navigate as you're transitioning.
Yeah, you got to use your talent to tell you. And I always say, check yourself before you wreck yourself. And my team's allowed to say that. So as an owner, your ego needs to be so far out of the way in order to handle that sentence coming from a staff member, right? And sometimes it's hard. And then sometimes they'll say it and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go take a walk because I'm pissed off, right?
Yep.
I'll come back to you and then let's talk about it. So like I would say do that and then let them have permission also to tell you when you're mucking it up. That's hard, right?
It is. And creating that open line of communication to know that you can have those conversations without there being the repercussions or whatever it may be, because we're on the same team. Where are we trying to go? And it's funny because it sounds just a lot easier than actually doing it, but it's every single day it's getting a little bit better at it and kind of seeing the efficiencies. And I mean, ultimately, how do you help teach your team to kind of do that as well? I mean, as you continue to grow, they have teams under them, and so how do you help navigate an overall organization rather than just yourself?
You have to understand and realize that they don't know what you know. So I think leaders sometimes they'll promote a team person to like a leader, right? And they're like, okay, they should already know all this stuff, right?
Yep.
And they don't. Like, you didn't know all this stuff beforehand, and you made a lot of mistakes along the way. So you need to be able to go like, look, you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna have missteps. I just need you to communicate with me, and if you have a problem, come with 2 solutions. I always go 1 problem, 2 solutions type of theory. And so giving them the space to be able to make mistakes, but always look at it as a learning lesson instead of a mistake is like so important.
Love it. Lots of things that gonna try and execute on. Outside of just time, systems, process, would love to learn a little bit more about CLI. What got you into the insurance company or insurance industry? Would love to hear more of how did the idea come to be? How did you get into the position that you're in now, and what is it that you guys do and help with?
Yeah, so I actually have a degree in elementary education with a minor in special ed. So I work with special people every day, educating, about risk management. And risk management is really the transfer of taking the risks that are inherent in your life, your home, your auto, your business, and then you can either keep some of the risk yourself or transfer it to an insurance company and pay a premium. It's really that simple. And so really allowing our clients to make that decision, individually and being able to do that. So I use my degree every single day doing that. I taught 6th grade and I loved working with the kids. It just did not feed my entrepreneurial spirit. And I still had my decor company. And when I married my husband, he's like, you're like a Jamaican. You have like 50 million jobs. he's like, and I told you just before this that I had like 2 jobs always, like in college. So he's like, you need to like have one job, like one career, and just, what do you want to do? And when I really thought about it, I really thought about protecting what matters most for, individuals and families, and what we do for agencies also helps protect their business.
Absolutely. I mean, it's there's a lot of risk. It could really mess up someone's lives if they're not insured properly. And I mean, having that help, I mean, it's literally helping quite a bit before people even know that they need it. And you've been able to grow this pretty quickly. I mean, it's, through our conversations, you've had the road to 100, 200, 300. Would love to hear more about that. What does that mean? And why did you guys come up with these aggressive goals?
It's interesting because in 2019, we had 20 agency locations. And the thought of the road to 200 that we had was because I really felt like I saw other groups that were similar to us. They got so big that they didn't have the relationships that we have. And that's really important to me, is that I love our agencies. They're doing amazing things in their communities, and I want us to be able to serve them properly. And I feel like if you get too big, you lose that. So that was what we wanted. But also, I wasn't pushing our model. I had my own book of business, so I was really pushing my book of business, but I really felt like we were the model of the future. So we invested in the Road to 200 starting in 2019. We're now to almost 80 locations in 17 different states. We write in almost every state in the U.S., so we've grown a lot, like you said, over just the last couple of years. It's been like 3 years of really a fast kind of growth where, you 4X your business. And I thought I learned a lot over the last couple of years, because I took over the group. I bought the group in 2008, and I was in my early 30s, and I thought I knew a lot then. And then I got my butt kicked in 2008, which was a down year for a lot of people. And realized that I needed to grow up. So that was humbling. Like I was telling you about the ego stuff. My common thing that I would say to people was to F off. Probably back then a little bit more like readily ready to do that. And I was like, and in your head, it's okay if it's still in there, right? But just, you can't say it out loud. Like, that's not going to work, and that's not going to get you into a place that, as a business, that's really good for you. I was my worst risk, right? So I had to risk manage myself and become a leader and become the leader that, the group needed. So I felt like in 2019, I'd done a lot of council work, and for about 11 years, probably a little bit longer than that, probably about 12 years, and felt like I understood what was happening in the industry to actually do the Road to 200.
It's amazing. I mean, even from 2019 to now, there's a lot of craziness that happened over those years. I mean, COVID, all of that, and I mean, kudos to you to be able to do that. And I mean, there's a lot of things you guys are doing. Why I can see how that attracts, the type of clients and clientele that that are coming to you guys. Would love to hear, how have you been able to 4X the business or really grow it? I mean, it doesn't happen by accident, obviously. And so we'd love to, what are some of the marketing things, or how have you been able to get the word out there that attracts that kind of awareness that leads to that kind of growth?
You have to be really sure what kind of clients you want to work with, first and foremost. So really outlining what those clients look like, making sure you're always communicating that to your team so they understand that as well. And that's really difficult because, like you said, the last couple 3 years have been like a little challenging. And so that has changed in the last 3 years too. So being able to pivot. I had 2020, I labeled Pivot with Purpose and Positivity. Had no idea what was going to happen in March. But we pivoted a lot. You'll have to go ahead and pivot. So that's how we've been able to do that. But really being different than other agencies out there and groups out there with creating, unique things. Like you were part of our launch with, we had a Monopoly game that's actually playable, right? Of all of the people that participated, the sponsors and the different agencies, and integrating it for actually a Monopoly game that we could play. So that's going to get people to talk about it, right? And it becomes this marketing piece and a part of who we are. And the Road to 200, we have this Volkswagen bus thing that's in everything. Even if we do a different theme, that bus comes with us to every event that we do.
I love it. I mean, at the end of the day, you're really honed in on who is it that you serve, and by doing that, you can focus on their pain points and really be able to communicate a direct message to them rather than everything that we do everything with the Monopoly game and all of that. Very much so enhancing the experience, what it's like to work with us. And I think that alludes to we want to kind of put a cap on it, on how many, agents, people we want to work with, because then you lose kind of that personal touch. I mean, has that, knowing who you are, who you're going after, allowed you to communicate a lot better, which then kind of closed the sales cycle and attracted that audience that you want? And selfishly asking this as well, because we're going through this transition as well, where, hey, instead of just saying yes to everyone, who is it that we really want to work with and go after? And we're starting to see some efficiencies and cool things from it. But as you've been able to do that, does that allow you to really just get honed in and be hyper focused to drive that growth?
Yeah, absolutely. And our best referrals come from our existing agencies. They know who we are and they know who they want to work with too.
Mm-hmm.
So asking your current clients, that you're like, I love working with you and I would love to work with more companies like you. So who could you refer me to? That would be a great fit on both sides.
Yeah.
And I don't think we as owners or even like our sales teams, we get weirdly shy about that. And we don't.
Why?
I don't know.
It's so funny because I sit here, I should be doing that, and then I go, wait, are we doing that? What?
Probably not.
Exactly. I mean, it's
You're like, we always go, oh, it's so awesome to do business with you, and like, here's a thank you card, and here's a thank you present, and we do all these things, and we're like, they're gonna give us a referral because we just did that stuff and we did really well with them, for them.
Yeah.
And they might.
Yeah.
But if we ask, like, the percentage goes way up.
Just gotta ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's usually that's where most revenue comes from, existing clients, spending more, and the ones that we love doing work with you. They're hanging out with typically like-minded people or like prospective individuals or whatever it may be. And totally agree. I mean, it's we push clients to do that quite a bit. Is how that referral program, and it's if we are delivering a great product or service, who are other people that would want to work with us. So you mentioned the road to 200. You don't want to get too large. Does that mean you'll eventually get to a point where the business doesn't grow anymore, or what does that look like?
My COO, Heather, is so excited for the day that we have 200. And what that means is, yes, like revenue-wise, we're not bringing any more revenue because we're a fee-based type of franchise type of system. And for her, that means her and her team gets to have more time, not onboarding new agencies, but actually working with them and helping them with their pain points. There is a point in time, I think, in every entrepreneur's life where if you've done really well, and we've had, oh gosh, how many years? It's been 21 years, and I would say probably maybe 16 of those years, 17 of those years, we've been at least with one carrier in their top 1%.
Wow.
And now we're multiple carriers in their top 1%. So how big is big enough, right?
Yep.
You got to, as an entrepreneur, decide that, right? And for me, is like, I love my life and I'm really happy with it. And as far as financially, I'm very blessed. So I don't need much more than that. So then we get an opportunity to give back even more to those that are a part of our organization once we get to 200. And then there is the essence of, if you're not a fit anymore, we will trade you out. And then
be in discipline.
You get a dream team. I mean, that's what I call my team. I call them dream team. But part of the dream team is the agencies that we work with too.
It's amazing because so many, entrepreneurs go big. We want to be the biggest, but it's I always had that thought as well. But this is kind of the first growth phase that we're going through. I'm like, man, there's a lot of problems and things you got to figure out. It's almost like everything gets broken down. You got to fix it back up in terms of process and how do we grow. So it's totally see that you get to a certain point and it's all right. We're good now. How do we just make what we're doing just better and being even more focused and going deep rather than wide?
Yeah. Success can be measured in, various ways. There's, the monetary side. You have the social side where you get awards and recognized and things like that. There is also, I feel like success should be measured also in the spirit side, which is not talked about at all. So for me, does it fulfill my spirit, and does it fulfill the things that are important to me as a human being?
I mean, how do you audit that? Because in order to be successful, you have to have a benchmark. And is there do you reflect weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually on what are we doing? And does this check the boxes that makes me feel that spiritual, fulfillment that you're looking for?
I have used, I like Darren Hardy. He's been a mentor of mine for a long time. He has a book called Best Year Ever, and he has it where every week you're doing your planning on Sundays to help get your mind in the right place, and then you can measure how you're doing within whatever sectors that you decide are priorities, is how he puts it. And for me, I just added the spiritual side of did the following week, did I put into the effort, not just from the financial goals and things like that and family goals, but also did I feel like it fed me? right? And if
Yeah.
it didn't, then maybe I should look at this week and make sure that looks like it's going to do that. And if it's not, then that's on me. Like I need to schedule things that are going to feed, my spirit too. Like having like time with you and doing a podcast and being able to talk to other entrepreneurs and hopefully give them one small idea that may help them and feed their spirit to keep it going, because owning a business sucks a lot of the time. It really does. So you gotta feed that spirit, or you're gonna be like that martyr, and your whole team's gonna go like, I have this saying, be better, not bitter, to my team, but I first said it to me for like 6 years. So definitely worked on that.
Yeah. I mean, at what point did you start doing more of that reflecting and auditing? And did you start feeling more accomplished, or actually, I guess, having more of that spiritual connection after you really audited? I mean, we're big on data and analytics. In order to know that you're doing well or not well, it's a matter of auditing. And we find that once you start focusing and getting into a regular pattern, it's that didn't happen. What prevented it? How do we optimize our day? Whatever it is, so that we get it. Have you seen that by sitting down and reflecting, it's expedited the that connection?
Yes, and it expedites the connection with your team too, because they know you're in a better place, like you're not as bitter. And then it also with the people that you serve, your clients, or for us, our agencies, and I do a lot more commercial than personal lines. So a lot of our commercial clients on, how do you connect with people?
There's a lot of learning that a lot of people can do from that. I mean, it's all connections. I mean, that's all this world is connections, and how can we help each other grow? And there's just a lot that's just coming out that it's literally currently working on, and a lot of great advice. Been a lot of, you've gotten here, you've done a lot of great things. What are you guys working on now? And what are some of your, a lot of people talk about 5-year goals, and they can get, COVID can happen and they all change. And so I think, love hearing what are the short-term goals, next 3 to 6 months. I mean, what are you guys working on to accomplish as a team and yourself personally?
Yeah, I'm working on finishing a book called Leadership Lies. I had done a book previously called The Strategic Playbook for Creating Your Dream Team. Had actual copies of it and final copies, and decided to scrap it because it didn't feel authentic to myself. And so started writing this book. So I'm looking to put that out and finish that. And then start a podcast. So that's me individually. Our team has a kickoff. We do a virtual kickoff, which we really love. We use the software Hopin, and it really gives you like an idea of like a virtual conference in the best way possible. And those are hard to do. It's hard to pull off and keep people's attention and be able to do that. So we've gotten really super creative about that. We've got some newer ideas for this year's virtual conference so that we can keep, our audience, which is our agencies, like totally excited about it.
Just working with young guys on a couple different things. I mean, the events, it's amazing how much you try and bring people together. And so love hearing that. And I mean, as you kind of move forward, would love to kind of hear any tips, advice you have on, any entrepreneurs that are out there. I mean, literally, I'm trying to figure this out as well. Just, you've done a really good job at, again, the systems, organization, connecting people. Any entrepreneur that's trying to do it all themselves, I guess, what is the biggest piece of advice you'd have for them?
Don't do it by yourself.
Boom.
Exactly. I mean, even if you can't afford anybody, find a good group of people that have taken that path before. And one of the things that I've done in the past that has helped me a lot is, with me being a commercial broker, I am able to talk to business owners. And if I see a business owner that has a culture or a business that I'm like, I want to get there someday, I'll ask them and say, hey, like, I love what you're doing with your team or your culture or how you've organized and structured your business. Can I take you out for lunch? And I want to learn everything I can and soak it in. And I would love to, implement some of those things and, and circle back with you. And if you do that with people, they are your like board of directors for free. Right?
Yeah.
and they'll like, and if you have to, have something that doesn't quite go the way you want to, they love helping. And the cool part is later on you can go back to them and they feel really good about the fact that they were able to help you in your business. So they kind of get to take some credit if it goes well. And if it doesn't go well, then it's like, well, that's on you. You obviously did not implement it the way I did. So they're in like a no-lose situation by doing that. But if you have some level of success as an entrepreneur, it's really cool to like kind of give tips and like some warning signs to other entrepreneurs and be able to help them down their path too. So I loved doing that when I was getting started, and now I've been doing it long enough that people come to me and I get the opportunity to repay it.
You're such a great person, great business owner. Would love just kind of where can people find you and reach out if there's anyone in the insurance world that kind of wants to connect.
Sure. I have a very unique first name, and and it's Dawnyel. So it's Dawnyel. Last name is Smink, Smink. And where you can reach me is dawnyelsmink.com.
Awesome. I appreciate the time. There's so much that I know the audience is going to love, and there's a lot that I need to do better things at, and there's a lot of things that you mentioned that's all right, going down the good path or the right path. And so I appreciate the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and I just appreciate working with you and your team, and it's really cool to see you guys grow too.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.